Welcome to College Hoops Under the Radar by OFG Sports. Here's your host, the online sports guys.
And we've reached the Final Four in college basketball here on College Hoops Under the Radar. Right now, you get two Johns talking hoops. John Wilkerson at HQ here in Metro Atlanta area. John Fox up in upstate New York, near Syracuse. John, the pollen is still bad here.
Well, I'm glad you're able to speak again.
Yes, yes.
That was brutal last week.
Now, our listening audience wants to know, what's cupping your hand right now? Is it an old style?
Well, yeah, by popular demand, the short you made was so brilliant that the public is demanding that we make it somewhat of a staple on the show. So I'm going to go with the old style again.
Old style, and of course, our adopted hometown of Ithaca, New York, as
Yes.
well. All right, so let's start talking Final Four here, John. And the first game on the agenda is Auburn and Florida. Two SEC teams survive, and now they get to meet each other. So the league is guaranteed a team in the national championship game. They've met only once this year. Florida won that game. Florida has had a couple of scares from Texas Tech and from UConn, and have been able to survive. Auburn is, well, they've grinded out a few wins, but we pretty much expected them to be here. Right now, on paper, Florida looks like the team right now that probably will prevail in this game. But again, they're a little tournament tough now. They've had a couple of really tough ball games they had to come back from.
Yeah, so for some reason, whenever a team that goes on to win it has a scare early, I think about Tyus Edney with UCLA and his buzzer beater against Missouri.
Oh,
And
the
Florida's
floor.
Yeah, Florida's definitely been living on the edge, but UConn was a tough game in the second round. So you got that side of it, and also not too many teams can match up the size and athleticism of Auburn, but Florida can. And so the inherent advantage that Auburn has over a lot of teams, they just don't have against Florida. So it'll be interesting see how that plays out.
Well, Johnny Broome got a little bit of an injury scare against Michigan State, and he should be 100%. You never know, but if right now Walter Clayton Jr. has just been unstoppable. He's the big reason why Florida has been able to win those games, those close games in the tournament, because the guy, all he does is hit big shots.
And we've also seen over the years that if you have that one guy who gets on a roll and who's clutch, that can carry all the way to a title. And that's just Florida's got a lot of the elements of a team that has won a title in the past. So no, it's hard to argue that the best four teams this year made it to the Final Four.
Well, all number one seeds, yeah.
Yeah, I mean all the analytics suggest they're the best four. So let's hope the games are called fairly, roll it out there, and see what happens.
Now, the familiarity is there. They've played one time. Auburn may have an edge, I guess, because they lost and they're only meeting this year. But this game is in San Antonio, Texas.
Yeah.
And about a couple thousand miles, maybe 1,500 miles from both campuses, in a dome. And sometimes, now they've played in domes already, I believe. So that shouldn't be too much of an adjustment, but it might be. Neutral court. I still like Florida in this game because of the size, because of Walter Clayton Jr. hitting big shots. But I just think this could be an epic game between these two SEC rivals.
It certainly could. It has everything you would want. You never know at a specific tournament site whether certain guys like the background they're shooting into or don't, or who gets hot or what. So this game is definitely worth a watch, and maybe more than once.
Well, we're at the point right now where everybody really has good shooters, can rebound, has a few defensive stoppers, has that guy on the bench that potentially could be the difference maker. Um, it's really hard to forecast these games when you get to this point of the year. Uh, but when you look at Florida and Auburn, as you say, it has all the ingredients of a classic Final Four game.
Yeah, for people who lament that there are no Cinderella stories in the Final Four, I mean, I think about tennis tournaments, Grand Slam tennis tournaments. When you have Nadal and Djokovic playing in the final or something,
Mhm.
no one is arguing the fact that that's a matchup people want to see. You have two great champions going after each other. See who
Mhm.
has it that day, and I feel like both of these games sort of fit into that profile. And yeah, let's see who has it. See what happens during a game. If there's any gamesmanship, if who knows, a lot can happen, and it's there's a lot of
Well,
mystery.
Well, you got Todd Golden on the Florida side, looking at the coaching matchup, who has that young man cool kind to him, very quiet. Yeah, but then you got Bruce Pearl on the other side, who is very vocal, can be animated, has a few things to say every now and then. I think that's going to be an interesting dynamic too. It's always fun to watch the coaching matchup on the sidelines.
Bruce Pearl has come a long way. I remember when he put Illinois on probation back in the late 80s, early 90s, when he was an assistant for Tom Davis at Iowa. There's no love lost for me uh, with Bruce Pearl, but the guy can certainly coach. I mean, everyone he's coached has has gone to places they didn't expect, from the Wisconsin Milwaukee and on and on. So,
Well, he won Division II national titles too at Southern Indiana.
right. So yeah, they're it's it's going to be great watching because between the coaches, the teams, the history involved, this is a matchup that's worth you know worth all the ad money.
Only a guy that could be potentially topped by a game that I think could be a classic. We could be talking about this one 40, 50 years from now. Duke and Houston, because both teams are athletically gifted, have stars, uh, play lockdown defense. Any Kelvin Sampson team plays lockdown defense.
Yeah,
Uh, Tough and physical. This game, to me, has the potential to match that Louisville Houston game in the Final Four in Albuquerque in 1983, to be overshadowed by the NC State Cinderella run. But go back and watch that game because that is modern basketball uh, back in the early 80s. I mean, you look on one side of the bench, you had Milt Wagner and Lancaster Gordon and the McRae brothers. And the other side, other bench, you had Akeem Olajuwon, Clyde Drexler, Larry Mishaw, Michael Young, Phi Slamma Jamma, that whole thing.
yeah,
And it was up and down the floor, above the rim. It's still a classic game. I had my 22-year-old son watch it when he was in his early teens, and his jaw even dropped watching that. Uh, this has the potential to be that type of game.
yeah. One element that like, remember when the Fab Five played Duke in the final.
Yeah.
It was this time Duke has all the youth, and Houston has a lot more experienced players. I don't know if it'll matter in this case because the Duke freshmen are unbelievable. Plus, they've got
Hmm.
good experience depth. But
And they got rim protectors too.
yes, I mean, what Houston did to Tennessee was just devastating. I mean, Tennessee is was the number one team in the country for the first 2 months of the year, and just got absolutely dismantled by Houston. Uh, again, I hope this is one where it's called fairly and Houston's allowed to defend the way they want and let the game play. Because I agree with you, this could be an all-timer.
Just so many great athletes and players on that floor. And the coaching matchup to me is very intriguing. You got John Shire, a protege of Mike Krzyzewski. Again, calm, um, a lot like Coach K on the sideline, but very, very forceful when he gets in the huddle. Then you got Kelvin Sampson. And yes, he's can be a little animated. I, to me, Kelvin Sampson, I love the way he coaches. He knows he gets the players. He knows it's the players that makes him successful. Uh, and you can talk about all the stuff he did in Indiana and Oklahoma, but it's fine now. It's legal.
Yeah.
Um, to me, he is our modern day Jerry Tarkanian because he's taking a school with some basketball tradition, but University of Houston's mainly a commuter school, and he's taking that type of program and elevated him up to a power league, Big 12, and it's consistently a Final Four threat. And that's kind of what you had at UNLV when Tarkanian was there. He's got some players that, you know, have a little different past, maybe, but boy, when they get together as a team, they are just tough as nails.
Yeah, Moses Scurry would fit well on this Houston team. So
And Moses Scurry reference, I love it.
I was going to make a Benny Anders reference as well, but that's
Even better.
but one thing that's noticeable really when Houston defends at such a high level, uh, how Duke attacks them is going to be an interesting. To me, that's the matchup of the game. How Duke's offense against Houston's defense, maybe at the highest level on each side in the country. And I don't know, the way Houston helps, the way they shut off all the lanes and it's just they're incredible to watch. And I'm looking forward to it, like you are.
Now, we could sit here all day, break this down and bore you to tears.
Yeah.
But it's, to me, again, we've talked about the great athleticism, the lockdown D and the rim protectors both these two teams have. And I'm sure there's going to be some nice dunks along the way. But it really comes down to a couple of things. Who's going to get the key defensive stop? Who's going to hit the key shot? And which star is going to get in foul trouble early or at a point where it's critical?
Yeah.
That's what this game comes down to.
Hard to argue that. I haven't looked at the line. Do you happen to know what
No,
the
I
what
haven't
the
looked at the betting line either.
yeah.
Um, so our betting line expert is absent today. I'm on record saying Florida is going to win the first game. I like Houston in the second game. How about you?
I I will go with Florida and Duke.
Okay. And
I don't like picking games, but that's it. If I have to pick them, that's how I see it.
who wins Monday night?
I honestly don't know. I'd have to see how the first games play out, but
Okay.
before
Fair
making
enough.
that call. Yeah.
Fair enough. That means we may have to come on Sunday um, for a YouTube live show.
Oh wow.
Um,
I'll be at two
I'm
days in
a,
a row of dogs in a piles by Sunday, so I'll be in good shape for that.
yeah. Um, Look, I'm gonna go on the record. I'm for the Houston Cougars. Look, I'm a child of the Southwest Conference. I was v- watched a lot of games involving Guy V. Lewis when he was the head coach, and that great team in the '80s. Being an Arkansas guy, being from there, the battles between Olajuwon and Joe Klein were awesome. Clyde Drexler would go up against Darrell Walker. and those were great individual matchups. Or Alvin Robertson.
Wow.
So I got a soft spot for teams that come out of the Southwest Conference, especially for Houston, because they got there 3 years in a row, and like the Buffalo Bills,
Oof.
lost every time.
Yeah.
And that's been kind of a mark on that program. And again, I got a soft spot for the Cougars, and I would love to see them cut the nets down in San Antonio, not too far from Houston,
Yeah.
um, on Monday night. Uh,
That's a factor I for some reason I didn't even consider, but that could play a big part as well.
exactly, because
Yeah.
there's going to be a lot of adopted Cougar fans, I'm sure, uh, in the Alamo Dome
Yeah.
on during Final Four weekend. All right, so that's where we are with the Final Four. But we've coaching carousel just continues to spin in college basketball. When we come back, we'll talk about where the chess pieces are moving in on the coaching profession, and some interesting hires are out there right now as College Hoops Under the Radar continues after this timeout. And please like and subscribe.
The online sports guys would love to hear from you. Check out our X page, formerly known as Twitter for a Rant. Comment or whatever is on your mind about college basketball. Now back to College Hoops Under the Radar. Here's your host, John Wilkerson.
You know, John, I was thinking, we're taping this on April 1st, April Fool's Day, right? 40 years ago is when Villanova beat Georgetown for the '85 national championship and what's regarded as one of the great upsets in college basketball history. And I'm okay with that. It was the perfect game. There was some intrigue in that. You had the Georgetown intimidation. You had Ewing and Reggie Williams and Michael Jackson and Ralph Dalton and all those guys. I think what people forget is that Villanova team were veterans too and had played against that group for at least 3 years, 4 years. And Ed Pinkney was as good as Patrick Ewing. In fact, he did a great job against Patrick Ewing and Dwayne McClain on Reggie Williams. So they weren't intimidated. I always thought the NC State upset 2 years earlier was a bigger upset than Villanova, but the Villanova thing makes a great story. But 40
I remember when that Final Four was about to happen, Jim Boeheim said, St. John's can't beat Georgetown, but Villanova can. And he turned out to be prophetic.
Yes, it did. Yes,
Yeah.
it did.
No 3-point shot that at that point.
Or shot clock.
Right.
And
So
Villanova ended up shooting like 80%.
yeah.
Yeah, even back then you could strategize a lot more than you can now when you're facing the big boys. Okay, so Villanova has their guy, like we already knew they were going to go after Maryland's head coach, Kevin Willard.
Kevin Willard, yep.
So that left an opening in Maryland, and that got filled pretty quickly. Buzz Williams moves from Texas A&M to Maryland. And, first of all, I think this kind of fell in Maryland's lap perfectly.
Yeah.
Because Maryland's having a tough time trying to get an ID going in the Big Ten Conference in men's basketball. Let's face it, they're going to call themselves a football school, but Maryland's a basketball school. No, even when back in the ACC, basketball kind of ruled the roost in College Park.
Yeah.
I was around it for quite a few years, and but where Maryland's having an identity problem here is who's their rival in the Big Ten in basketball. When Duke came into the Comcast Center, look, that was a nasty rivalry between Duke and Maryland, and it was great TV. And when they played in College Park, that place was rocking. Same thing when Carolina came in, but the Duke Maryland thing was really, really nasty and petty and but since they moved to the Big Ten, I'm not sure they've been well served in the sport that in basketball, men's basketball, where they feel that's where they have to be successful.
they've they brought a different type of I guess physicality and athleticism to the league. I feel
Yeah.
that they're not a Midwestern team at all. They're an Eastern team,
Yeah.
and the players they get are they're just I don't know they just seem tougher to me. And I know Illinois has had a horrible time trying to deal with them. Just can't beat them. And I think Buzz Williams is a great hire for them. I don't know if he's ever worked in a major metropolitan area before or if that even matters, but he's certainly no stranger to the types of players that Maryland will get. And the recruiting, now with the money involved, they'll be able to get probably some extremely high level players. And no, they could be in the top third of the conference for quite a while if if this plays out right.
I was around Buzz Williams a little bit when he was at Virginia Tech. The guy can flat out coach.
Yeah.
He's a great personality. He's going to sell tickets. He he is also very down to earth. Um, from basketball standpoint, it's a great hire. It fell in Maryland's lap because, but again, I think they've got the identity crisis of an ACC school in the Big Ten with no natural rival. And it was a complaint that Mark Turgeon had when he was the head coach there, and Kevin Willard felt the same way. Uh, but I think they got the right guy in. He's going to bring players. He always brings players in, whether he's at Marquette or Virginia Tech or Texas A&M. I think the
Yeah.
surprising thing to most people is, Buzz Williams, a native of Texas, leaving College Station. But obviously, when Trev Alberts became their athletic director, there was some friction there, and Buzz Williams saw an opportunity to go to a basketball school, basketball centric school, and make a difference. And they got a great facility there at the Comcast Center, so all the pieces are in place.
He's even willing to play zone and three-quarter
Yep.
court nagging press, which just doesn't happen in the Big Ten. I'm looking forward to seeing that. That'd be a welcome change.
Yeah, his game is going to kind of rough. It's going to be confusing for some of the Big Ten coaches, and that Big Ten style, which really promotes physicality and timely shooting. Really, it's the only major conference I can think of where the big man, a skilled big man, still matters.
Yeah, that's that's for sure. They probably of the major conferences, the Big Ten has the most 7-footers who are more adept at shooting than rim protection. And you know, Big Z might be joining his brother at Illinois to have so Illinois could have two of those guys at the same time. But we
Hate to
can
see
get
him
to
leave
that in a minute.
Arkansas.
Yeah.
So some of the candidates for Texas A&M, which if some of these move on to College Station, Texas, we'll keep this carousel going and add another hole because there's some big names involved. Leading off, Fred Hoiberg in Nebraska. Trev Alberts was there when he was coaching at Nebraska. He's had a pretty decent mark at in Lincoln. Again, it's hard to win in Lincoln when you're a football-centric school. He had some success at Iowa State, went on to the NBA to coach the Bulls. We all know what he did in Chicago. But he would be a very attractive hire for A&M.
Fred Hoiberg has credibility to the max, and winning in Nebraska in basketball is extremely difficult. I think that would be an unbelievable hire for Texas A&M if they could get him. I think he would check every box
He's
that they would
he's
want.
he's known as the mayor.
Yeah.
Uh, um, this one intrigues me, and Chris Beard at Ole Miss on the list. He's coached at Texas Tech. He's coached at Texas. He hasn't coached at Texas A&M. He's a native of the Lone Star State. He can flat out coach basketball. He put Texas Tech in the Final Four. He could be one that falls into Texas A&M's lap.
Yep. I mean, with him, you know what you're getting, and if that's what they want, and what go for it, because he is successful.
Um, Third on the list, your guy, Brad Underwood at Illinois. You've been pretty vocal about, at least on my text channel, about Illinois and, and what they're going through, and um, I'll
Yeah,
just leave the stage for you.
yeah. What's going on there has led me to be semi-coherent on this podcast tonight. Happy hour started early with all the Illinois has a nepotism problem, number one, which is uh, to some degree crippling the team, and why some people are leaving. If Texas A&M wants to take a 62-year-old coach off our hands and his son, I'd be more than happy to see him go. There are plenty of people. I mean, promote it Orlando Antigua to head coach. There are plenty of others who would could be good for that job where we wouldn't have that sort of trouble. So by all means, Texas A&M, if you want them, go for it.
Couple other names on the list, both from the SEC. Chris Johns at Mississippi State. He's got that program playing well. Just interesting whether he'd make the move from one Maroon school to the other. And Porter Moser at Oklahoma. He was the head coach of Loyola Chicago when they went to the Final Four as a Missouri Valley member. He's a Norman. He's built things up a little bit in Oklahoma, but they've had some rough years before he got there, and but his name is on the list as well. And who else knows who's on the short list of Trev Alberts is for that position at College Station, Texas, for Texas A&M. But
I would imagine, I mean, being in that league with the amount of money at Texas A&M, they'll be able to make an A plus hire. And
yes, they
it's,
will.
yeah,
They have some basketball tradition there. But again, it's hard to win at a place where, and maybe this is where Fred Hoiberg would be a good choice, win at a place where it's very football centric and basketball is kind of something to do after football season. They got to accept that, whoever they hire.
I think Fred Hoiberg would, I think he'd be good with that.
Yeah.
Sort of being a little, uh, not being the focus of the whole athletic department and being able to do what he wants uh, without without the pressures that come from being, the football coach at Texas A&M.
And if it is Brad Underwood, he'll have to turn in his old style for Lone Star.
That's perfectly fine. I will not switch to Lone Star. I will continue on.
Any final thoughts?
Well, it's been a heck of a college basketball season. We've got one of the best Saturday matchups we've had in a while. Two games in aggregate, and see how it plays out. Looking forward to it.
Well, we owe you one more show before we wrap it up in the college basketball season, as we'll review kind of some of our thoughts of the college basketball season, some of the stories we got to talk about, and what the shelf life has been like for that, and we'll talk about a national champion, and hopefully it'll be three Johns talking hoops rather than two. Although I don't mind. It's been two Johns for a month now.
Yeah, I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I don't know if anyone watching
You're the one
has enjoyed
constant.
it.
You're the
Yeah,
one constant.
yeah. I don't know if that's good, but that's been the reality of it. So,
Viewers love your glowing mic.
yep.
All right, so that puts the wraps on this week's College Hoops Under the Radar. We'll see you next week and discuss the college basketball season of 2024-2025. For John Fox, I'm John Wilkerson. We'll see you next week. So long, everyone.